Well, we're very happy to have R.D. James here. We've gone to Washington and met with him several times, but it's really fun to have somebody from Washington come to Fargo and Moorhead and see the effects of this project. And for you also to go down and see the sites and see what's happening, and to have the Senator and Governor here as well to do the welcoming to our community. And I think Mary Scherling will talk about this, but we are in a flood issue in this community. Last year we had one of our top 10 floods as well. Our community had to do sandbags. Interestingly enough, our sandbags, which we prepared for last spring, were used this fall in Jamestown. So we're finding that the community really knows how to fight floods, and we know how to go through this. And we're very excited about the federal government's involvement in this and how you are helping us to do this. And we think the project that the state has with the city and the metro area, Metro Flood Project, is fantastic because it really exemplifies the locals stand up, the state stands up, and we do our part, and the feds need to do their part. But we are going to do a very innovative project with a core build in 6 years, which has never been done before. And we think with your help, this is going to proceed and be one of those examples that throughout the nation people can look at and say that's the greatest way to do an infrastructure project with the federal involvement. So welcome to Fargo. I'm glad you enjoyed our restaurants last night and hope you like the community. And we're one of the top 10 cities in the United States, so welcome.
That was good, Mayor. So let's do this, if we could. Let's run around the table and everybody introduce themselves for the Secretary. I'll make just a few brief comments, turn to the Gov, and then I think we ought to go to Mary as the Diversion Authority Chairman, and then certainly open up for any remarks that the Secretary has, but then really just get him a good briefing. And he did get a chance to tour around and actually take a look at things yesterday, so he did get out on the ground and see how everything looks. So let's just run around the table and start with the good mayor from Moorhead.
Assistant Secretary, my name is Johnnathan Judd, Mayor Moorhead, and on behalf of the citizens and families of Moorhead, welcome, and thank you for being here and for your support.
Mr. Secretary, welcome to North Dakota. It's great to have you here. We'd appreciate any and all support that you give to the citizens of North Dakota and Minnesota on this project. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, Grant Weyland. I'm a Clay County, Minnesota Commissioner, and welcome to our area.
Chuck Hendrickson, Warren City Council member, and welcome to Fargo Moorhead.
Hi, Mike Thorstad, West Fargo City Commission and a Diversion Board member.
Chad Peterson, Cass County Commissioner. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, Tony Grenberg, Fargo City Commissioner.
Good morning, Shelley Carlson, Moorhead City Council.
Dave Pepcorn, Fargo City Commission.
Good morning, Rick Steen, Cass County Commission.
Good morning, Joel Paulsen, Executive Director of the Diversion Authority.
Dan Jacobson, Cass County Joint Water Resource District.
Kevin Wilson, Deputy District Engineer for St. Paul District, and you've heard me a lot on this, sir. So.
Hi, Terry Williams, St. Paul District.
Good morning, sir. Carl Jansen, I'm the commander of the St. Paul District, and honored to have you here.
Good morning, sir. Mary Scherling, Cass County Commissioner and Chair of the FM Diversion Board. Welcome so much, Assistant Secretary. We so appreciate your coming out here. We've been to DC many times and visited with you and your folks about the importance of this project, but to have you here in person to see our situation is just invaluable. So I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. As the mayor says, that this is, you know, the largest community in North Dakota, but we also in Cass County encompass quite a large area in addition, including West Fargo and other smaller communities, Harwood and Horace, and a few others that will be protected by this project. All told, about 23% of the state's population will live within this protected area. And on the flip side, right now, 23% of the state's population is at risk of losing our homes and businesses and livelihood. You know, currently, and you can see in these pictures, we use school children to help us with our flood fight. The Sandbag Central, you know, the Cub Scout, the Boy Scouts come out, all the high school kids come out, school shut down, the college kids are expected to fight. That's how we do a flood fight. And it's, you know, once every 20 years, and if you can win, that's fine. But we're this close to losing, and we just can't continue on like this. I know already I'm thinking about my March plans of maybe taking a trip out of town. Probably not going to do that now, just because you don't know what's going to happen, or you're going to have to empty out your basement again. So this is a tough thing for us. It's a huge medical center here. You know, we provide a lot of services for the rest of the state. We just cannot continue to be so vulnerable to the weather, and the weather seems, you know, to be playing havoc with us. This is the wettest fall that I'm aware of that we've had, and Governor Burgum was out here last week or a couple of weeks ago and talking to farmers and the urgency that they're having now with wet fields and trying to get in there. And so it's really been a tough situation for us, and we're always kind of looking for the next, what's around the corner, trying to be prepared, and this is something that we just need to do as responsible leaders. So again, I thank you so much for joining us, and it'll be a good discussion.
Thank you. Thanks, Mary. Really, focus for today is to talk about the federal funding. As you know, it's a $2.9 billion project. It really is an amazing partnership, as evidenced by this group of people you see here representing all the different communities, the counties, multiple states, local, state, federal, and private sector all coming together in this P3 project, a $2.9 billion project that is comprehensive flood protection for the whole region. And we really emphasize that. It's about the whole region having flood protection. So federal share about 30%, state share about 30%, local share about 40%. Built, we hope, over a 6-year timeline with the private sector participation, making it a split delivery project, a P3 public-private partnership project, both in terms of cost to the federal government and shorter timeline to build it. We think a model that can work for the nation to really help cut into the backlog as far as civil works projects that the Corps of Engineers has. And of course, as Mary said so very eloquently, addressing a very critical need for this whole region, both now and for the long-term future. So focus today being on the $750 million cost share from the federal government and making sure that that comes in concert with the local and state share so that we can stay on that 6-year construct schedule that we hope to achieve. And we need to start out by thanking you. And again, I should tell everybody that Secretary James has been coming to North Dakota for over a decade. Back when I was governor, he was up here helping us on the Lakes Kakawea. So he knows North Dakota. He's been here to help us before. This was not the time. And he was incredibly responsive for us getting the the increase to $750 million in the PPA. He not only helped us get it, but he helped, he signed the agreement, and he did it in a very expedited manner. So, and that has been his history with us. He's a problem solver, and he has been a champion for us. Our challenge right now is we need to make sure that we have the federal funding coming in on a schedule that works. Most immediately, that means about $100 million, as I know Colonel has told you, for construction, federal money for core construction on the project this year. On the appropriation side, we've appropriated, depending on what we end up, if we end up with a CR, we've got about $300 million available for this project and others like it, but clearly over and above what the presidential request was for projects in the budget. So if we end up with a CR, that number is $300 million. If we end up able to do our full appropriations, and we did 4 bills yesterday, so we're making progress, then it would be over $300 million that would be available. And we've also added what y'all called a P3 account. We work with the administration to get a P3 account to the tune of $100 million in the budget request. We've now changed that in our Energy and Water Appropriations Committee. We call it an alternative delivery account, but it's still $100 million. It's still for the same thing. It's just that to meet the congressional requirements, we actually had to modify it a little bit, which we've now done, and moved through the full approach. Point being, there's several buckets between your project account, the alternative delivery account, and so forth, that make the funding available. And so the key is, of course, that the Corps is able to utilize that for this project for this year. The mayor will probably want to, or may want to, I'm going to leave that up to him, going into the out years too and talking about some of the planning for funding even beyond 2020 and into 2021. And Governor, it's all you.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Senator. Secretary James, thanks for being here in North Dakota. Thanks for being on the ground. Thanks for coming here in years past, but in spending time in the Red River Valley, and I know you got a background in agriculture. You know this is one of the most productive places in the world, but it's also one of the flattest places in the world, and that's not just a statement, that's a fact that it is. And so as a community across multiple cities, 2 counties, 2 states, 1 river, we find ourselves in this perpetual situation up and down the valley. As you know, in 1997, we lost the city of Grand Forks. Pre-Katrina was the largest peacetime evacuation. 50,000 people had to abandon the city, and the core of the city burned. So we in North Dakota understand floodplain. We've won some, but we haven't won all of them. And we understand that the risk is real, that could happen here. And this project, which, as Mary noted, that 23% of the people in the state, but it's also, this is close to 20% of the school kids in the state, 55 school buildings. It's multiple universities are in the protected zone. Every hospital in the metro area, which would include all of those that serve a gigantic region. So I mean, the total be a catastrophic loss of core infrastructure, not just for transportation, distribution, agriculture, manufacturing, but healthcare and education would all go down because there is no high ground in this town. And so this, project is of critical importance. And as you can see, when we've got 70% state and local funding, 70% state and local funding, I mean, this is not a group of people coming to the federal government and saying, hello, federal government, we want 80%. This is the group of people saying we're willing to pay 70 at state and local, and we'd like 30 from the feds, and we also want to do it in a way with the P3 partnership that we want to get it done more efficiently. So as both the mayor has said and as Senator Hoeven has said, there's an opportunity here for federal to really leverage the federal dollar to build a great project, but also build one in a way that could be actually a real demonstration for the United States and how we can really make a federal dollar go a long way, because the commitment of the local citizens to pass these sales taxes to pay for this thing, because they'd rather pay the sales tax than do what you're seeing in these photos, which all of us have done, because this is all for one for all. It's not about a few people that have a house by a river. It's the whole city together, or we all fall, and cities plural across the whole area. So anyway, really pleased that you're here, and know that this is going to be a great project, but it's also going to be a great thing for the federal government to demonstrate how to really make an impact and get deep engagement from state and local to get great projects done.
Well, let's jump on this schedule here that they laid out. Now, Mary, did you want to add more? And then let's just follow down the schedule.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I think at this point, Joel, are you here? There you
Yes.
are. Joel Paulsen is our new executive director, and he can give you kind of an update of where we're at and where we need to go.
Yeah, that's great, Mary, thanks. And certainly I'll turn it over to Mayor Mahoney after I just give a brief update. This project is, as others have mentioned here, of utmost importance to us. You can see in these pictures, this is something that's happening with more and more frequency, and it's something that is more and more concerning. In 2009, I was working for the city of Fargo on some temporary levees, and we were within minutes of losing certain portions. And that story happened tenfold across the community in 2009. And we're extremely lucky that we did not lose significant infrastructure during that event. But it really opened up everybody's eyes to say, we need to do something, and we need to do something now, because we cannot do this again. Had we not had a cold snap the night of the crest of the 2009 flood, I think we would have had pretty significant damages here in Fargo and Moorhead. So we've been working since 2009 towards the implementation of this project. There's a lot of innovation that's been done. This is a one-of-a-kind project. If you were to look at how things have been set up and how things have been implemented to date, there isn't a country or the project in the nation that would equal us in innovation. And I'd like to thank our partners, the Corps of Engineers, for working hand in hand with us. The idea of split delivery was initially brought up a number of years ago, and we're really pioneers as far as water projects with public-private partnership in the Corps of Engineers. Our project is the furthest along of any other Corps of Engineers project that has a P3 component. The real advantage financially to the P3 arrangement is that they're bringing hundreds of millions of dollars of capital to the table. And if they didn't bring that money, the local non-federal sponsors would have to bond for that money. And we're talking, about $300 to $500 million that the P3 will bring to the table. Now, of course, we pay them back, and the profits included an arrangement over time, but we can do that with our sales tax levy, and it makes sense. We don't have to take out the long-term debt. And financially, it really is an advantageous thing for us to have that arrangement. Not only that, but the P3 is under the impetus to get this project done as fast as possible. And also the quality aspects are there as well. They're going to be maintaining this for 30 years, so they want to ensure that the quality of construction is appropriate. And they're taking ownership in that. And so as we move forward, our support is going to be for the Corps and their federal funding and the partnership between our technical folks and their technical folks to make sure that this is implemented appropriately, ethically, that we're being flexible and fair to the people that are being impacted by this project. And so we're getting things off the ground now. As you saw yesterday, the inlet structure is under construction. Another major control structure on the Wild Rice River will be awarded next month, hopefully. And we're moving towards the ultimate design of the Red River control structure as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Tim. I'm sure Tim has some comments he'd like to make as well. So.
Well, one of the things we've talked about with this project is efficiency. So the ability to do the project is the efficiency of the Corps to work with us. And the goal of the group of the DA authority here is to have the build by 2026. That's an aggressive 6-year build. We just need to match the funding. Talking to the governor, we're talking about appropriations of 75 to 100 million per year to make that task happen. The state has upped its funding amount that they're putting in. They're almost matching the federal amount of the funding when we look at those types of things. But what happens then is that both sides have to fund that way. And the aggressive part of the funding is Red River Valley control structure. So we need some efficiency funding from the Corps to help us hit our goals. And we'd hate to have the P3 project done before we had the Corps part done, because they have to work together. They do their best work when they work together. So that would mean in funding by the Corps is that they almost have to hit 100 to 150 million a year, and sometimes they may have to pop up to 250 in 1 year. And we know that's a huge gulp. We worked with the senator before on this and how to get everything to match up. So we're going to ask your help in us figuring out how to get this thing done in 6 years and how do you efficiently fund it. And if there's different ways of doing that, we're more than happy to work with you. I think the governor would say we're very nimble to move about whatever things have to happen, we'll do, and we work through different types of hurdles that come in front of us, but try to figure a better way. So General Semonite and I have a dinner bet that we're going to be done first with the P3, and he thinks the Corps is going to be done first with our part, but that still lines up to a 26 done date. So that's what we very much appreciate. And to the community, what's happened is people get nervous about February, because in February you try to predict the spring flood. So what happens is the wet fall makes people nervous. The ability for a variety of things to happen makes everybody nervous. So if we have a clear path forward, that really helps us in our messaging to our communities and to what's going to happen in the future. So that's kind of what we as the board are looking at very solidly. We've already in the P3 project have about 50% of the properties now at this time. We have an aggressive land committee that's going and working with the farmers and working with different people on acquisitions of the land so we can be prepared for that. Our anticipated growth is the P3 will be bid next fall. And once the P3 is bid, we'll go back to the state legislature and the governor will help us with how do we craft, what do we need next and what's the money. There may be some cost savings in the P3. We're very hopeful of that. There may be some different ways of doing things. We're hopeful that our 3 bidders will come up with a variety of great ideas for us, and we hope that'll help us as well. But we think this is going to be one fantastic project, and we very much appreciate your support. Very much appreciated that you did go up to 750 with our project, our P3 assignment, and that very much helped us when we talked to our legislative people. But their question always back to us is, okay, we'll do our part, but what's our feds going to do? So I leave that to your ability to get that done. Thank you.
We want to hear from Clay County next. Would that be looks kind of like how they have it built on the agenda. So, Grant, is that you?
That would be me. So, again, thank you for being here. And we are proud of our partnership that we've had for all these years. And we can see the light at the end of the tunnel now, so I think we're all pretty excited. A number of us just came back from Washington, D.C. last week, and we had a very positive trip, and so we're looking forward to this project moving forward and getting completed. So thanks again for your time and being here.
All right, Mayor Judd, from the Moorhead perspective?
I echo the same sentiments. Oh, sorry. Turn my microphone off there. I echo the same sentiments as Commissioner Weyland. We have been working with the city of Fargo as a really strong partner. Clay County and Moorhead are all also working together. We do have a joint powers agreement that we have set up to provide and start working through a process of land acquisition. So we're working in conjunction together. We're asking for funds from St. Paul to assist us in this partnership. And so I guess, we're just plugging away, trying to make sure that we are doing our part as an active partner to move forward. So again, thank you for your support and for being here.
Mayor Dardis, anything from the West Fargo?
Just one quick comment, if I could. When we talk about the issue of what we are experiencing this fall with a lot of moisture, our city is in spring protocols right now because of the amount of water coming from the west in rural Cass County and coming to West Fargo. And with the diversion that we have and all of the other watersheds that are dumping water, the amount of water that's coming through the diversion presently is nearly at full capacity. So the protocols that we have to follow at this point in time are the same that they are in the spring when we're anticipating a lot of water. So just as a point of reference, we're in spring protocol now. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Secretary, I guess I turn to you at this point just to kind of, for your comments and questions and, just find out how we can be helpful to you in anything that you might want to cover.
Well, this is red on.
Outside.
Green's on.
Green's on?
Good, yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. Sorry about that. This is one of the most impressive projects that I have witnessed, not only in the last 2 years as Assistant Secretary of the Army for Civil Works. Prior to that, I was on the Mississippi River Commission for 37 years. And this is an amazing project, not just physically what it's doing, diverting a river around a city, but the methods that you all have gone together as a team in order to get it done, the methods that you're using to finance it and try to finance it, because I don't think it would have ever been done on a 65-35 cost share, even or 75-25 far as that goes. What'd you call it, innovative?
Well, the alternative delivery or
Yeah, the
innovative finance?
alternative delivery. This is going to be a good tool, and you all are helping iron the wrinkles out of it, actually. You're the only one that's got a P3. We don't have another P3 in the whole Corps of Engineers. And as you move forward with the leadership and the teamwork that you have, by the time this project is finished, the next community that needs and gets a P3, I think will probably have an easier time of it than you've had. So that's a good thing. It doesn't help you much, but it's a good thing.
I think you're right about that.
As far as I'm concerned, I grew up on the banks of the Mississippi River in western Kentucky, a little town called Hickman. Educated, married, and moved to a little town on the banks of the Mississippi in Missouri. I have fought floods my entire adult life. What you all are going through is absolutely nothing new to me. I've laid enough sandbags to circle this town. So I sympathize with you, and I sympathize with what you're trying to do, and I want to help this project move forward with anything that I can do to do that. The senator here is a very strong advocate for the project, has talked to me often about the project. I feel like I could contract to build it as much as I know about it, but anyway. But back to me growing on the Mississippi River and being, when I came to DC, I was known as a flood control guy. You know, the navigation people and the ecosystem people, well, that's a flood control guy. Well, since I've been there, I have proven that I'm not just a flood control guy, but they're right. I am a flood control guy. Because I don't care what kind of town you have, whether it be tech and manufacturing, or whether it be farming and everything that goes with farming. People think of us farmers as a guy out there with overalls and a cap and a mule. That's not farming anymore, folks. We've got a lot of money invested, just like you do in your businesses. But nonetheless, I am a flood control guy. I can sympathize with this project, and I can try to do what I can in all my power legally to help you with it. And that I will, sir.
Yeah, I know you will, and we sure appreciate it. I guess at this point, I just kind of open it up then for other comments from anyone else that thinks there's some other things that maybe we should be touching on covering as far as project and well, we have the secretary here, so let me just open it up.
I guess I would maybe just add, the Secretary, one thing again also I think that is unusual aspect of this is the amount of inclusion that's gone into this. There's been over 7 years of meetings with people upstream and downstream. Over a year ago, we had great support from the Corps of Engineers, the state of Minnesota, the governor of Minnesota, Governor Dayton at that time. We put together a joint task force of 16 people, 8 from Minnesota, 8 from North Dakota, upstream, downstream, in city. And we had 6 full-day meetings with both governors, water commissions, DNR, Corps of Engineers present for every single one of those meetings, listening to every possible piece of input that went into the plan that we have before us. And I think there's an enormous amount of listening and fact gathering and engineering design that's gone on. The Corps' been through, dozens of iterations to come up with a plan, and we've got a plan. And I know that we can execute it in a way that's going to protect the interests of agriculture outside the protected area, agriculture and value-added business inside it, and then all the people that are here, as we talked about, and all the other important infrastructure. So I think this is it's go time. Funding is here. As everybody knows, we've got this fall unprecedented September, October, wettest Septembers in October in the history of the state of North Dakota. There's real fear out in farm country right now because we've got billions of dollars of crop that's been unharvested. We've got, potatoes, sugar beets, sunflowers, corn, soybeans, dry edible beans. The majority of most of those crops still unharvested and people can't get to them. The only thing that's selling in North Dakota right now is tracks for combines. And they're out of those. They're shipping those in from around the rest of the country. So I think that this is the financing piece is the one piece that remains, because there've been the listening, the inclusion, the engineering, the design, all that's worked. And that's why the work that you're doing, the work the senator's doing is so important, because the local citizens in the state are behind this, and closing out that last little piece in coming, as the mayor said, getting that cash flow to come in each year so this thing can move on time, on schedule, and lower the cost for everybody is, like I said, going to be a great path forward for this country to build infrastructure in a collaborative way.
Just to give you a sense, the governor issued a disaster declaration and request for disaster declaration from, I think, both Secretary and the President, correct? I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but it covers 47 of our 53 counties because of this flooding, 47 of the 53 counties. So that gives you some kind of sense of how extensive, the flooding and the challenges we have with all the rainfall this year, amount of water.
And we signed the secretarial declaration this morning, and the presidential one, we're still gathering some more information.
So that was the secretarial request.
It's clear that we're going to be above the threshold. I mean, just for the secretarial one, I think we've already identified $428 million of potential damages that are already documented, but there's billions of dollars of unharvested crop that are still remain out there. And I think, again, spring flooding, farmers got their inputs in the shed, their machinery's, still undercover, all greased up and ready to go, and they maybe even haven't taken out their operating loan. What we've got right now is everybody's got their inputs are in their ground, their operating loans are out there, machines that are at a standstill, and all the revenue is sitting in the field. And so the level of anxiety about this record historic fall flood that we're having is completely different than anything we've seen in the past in spring flooding, because in North Dakota, if the ground's frozen in the spring, someday it's going to thaw out and someday the water's going to go away. You're probably going to get crop in. If you don't, you get, if you're a crop producer, you can get prevent plant. But we've got, people where the programs are incomplete, and especially for our livestock folks that haven't been able to even get to their cattle in some places, we've got some real hardship going on right now.
Mayor, what else do we need to cover for go to the order while we've got the secretary?
I think we've covered everything. We're really excited to have Joe Paulsen on. He's going to be driving this machine now, and we've got some people that are going to be moving forward, because the project is, as people oftentimes ask, are you moving forward? Yes, we are. You've seen the inlet, you see the wild rice, what's going on there. I think you've driven throughout the city and seen a lot of our different projects. We've got $450 million we've spent so far. Our spring flood this last summer, or this last spring, we might have needed 1 million sandbags, but in the past it would have been 7.5 million sandbags. So we know we're making progress. We just have to get this final hump done, because if we get a big flood, we will have some issues in the community. So we thank you again for all your support. When we were in Washington, you took the time to walk in our meeting and say hi. I know you're extremely busy, and you do know the project, and you do like the project, so we very much appreciate that.
Mary?
Thank you. I just wanted to kind of echo the governor's comments about the great working relationship we have now with the state of Minnesota through the governor's task force. So there was a tremendous effort, and of course with our friends in Clay County and Moorhead, Minnesota, we're all in on this together. It's really, I think, showcases what a group of people can do when they come together to work on a project. One of the things that came out of that governor's task force was to alleviate some of the impacts, the negative impacts to the areas south of the communities. And so because of that, we're bringing more flows through town during a big event. And so we're having to build up those levees. Now, we can only build them up so high because it's so flat. But what that does is it will decrease the number of times that the project will be utilized, so that those impacts to farmers would be lessened. But most importantly, when it is utilized, generally it will be before planting season. So, around here, the flow of the river is backwards. It heads north. It's quite a challenge for us, among other things. And we've got more than just one river. We've got several rivers flowing into the red at the same time as the snow is melting. And that starts to happen in March. Our biggest flood in '09, I believe, was at the end of March. So that's well before people need to get in and plant, and that water is retained for just a few days, and then it's dried out, and life should go on. So, and we've got preventions in place for that as well, if there was any time that should occur later on. But that's our plan at this point, and I think thanks to the governor's task force, the project is better than ever.
Good, good.
Anything else, Secretary? We're going to do a little media avail, but did we make sure everybody had a chance to?
Yep.
Okay.
I just want to say thank you for a warm welcome. You know, that's one of the nicer things about my job, is getting to visit areas where people are working together trying to build projects, whether they be ports or harbors or flood control. And this one stands out. I mean, I said it a while ago, but I want to reiterate, it stands out, and it stands out because of the skin of your own that you're putting in the game here. And I only wish, from my position where I sit, that every community could do that. But just remember with me, there are some communities like your community on a river that's flooding, just like this one has, that can't raise this kind of money. And so when you hear they may get more federal assistance than you're getting, it's not because they're more well-liked or they're more well thought of, or even needs are greater. It's the fact that they just can't do it. And they deserve being protected as well. So, and now none of that may mean anything, because I can only do so much. But that's just my perspective on flood control. But you guys have done a great job. Thank you for welcoming me here. And if you need to come back to Washington, call on me.
Thanks, Secretary. Appreciate it very much.